Welcome to It's a Crime. I'm your host, Margaret McLean. This is the story of 4 young college kids at the University of Idaho who were doing what every college student does: studying, partying, goofing off, and making lasting friendships. Yet they had no idea what was coming, or shall I say, who was coming for them. In this video, we'll break down the chilling details of the University of Idaho murders and the criminal profile of the killer, Bryan Kohberger, with Dan J., a former police officer and true crime host of the DT show, and Jennifer Coffindaffer, a former FBI agent and criminal profiler. But first, I'll take you through what happened on that tragic Sunday morning of November 22nd, 2022 at King Road in Moscow, Idaho. Ethan Chapin, Haley Gonzalez, Xana Kernodle, and Maddie Mogan had no clue that a stalker was out there driving around in the cover of darkness during the wee hours of the morning, with a combat knife, circling their college campus apartment, closing in like a lone wolf. And he waited until he thought they were all sleeping. It was around 4 a.m. He let himself in through a sliding glass door which led into the kitchen and was always left open. I think he probably knew that. So he proceeded upstairs to the 3rd floor with his knife in hand and violently stabbed Kaylee and Maddie, who were the best of friends for years, and they were sleeping in the same bed. Now, according to the autopsy, Kaylee put up a fight and lost. After that, Kohberger went downstairs. Now, Xana Kernodle was in her bedroom still awake because she was on TikTok and had just received a DoorDash order. It's possible she heard screaming and the dog barking and tried to wake her boyfriend Ethan up, who was sleeping beside her. She most likely said, "Someone's here," because one of the housemates later told police she overheard that statement. Xana likely got up and came face to face with Kohberger, who just started stabbing, again, like Norman Bates in the movie Psycho, which he probably watched. He then killed Ethan in the bed and discovered Xana wasn't quite dead yet. So that's when he likely said, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." And he killed her. He finished her off to end her suffering. Then Bryan Kohberger left and sped away in his white Elantra. These horrific murders took only 16 minutes, and there was so much blood that it dripped through the walls onto the outside of the building. Kohberger pled guilty to all the murders and waived his rights to appeal. I watched that and it gave me the chills. I mean, the way he spoke, no emotion, and he had that cold stare of a killer. As a former prosecutor, I've been fascinated with the criminal mind. I taught classes in criminal law for years, and I wrote 3 books about it. But I still can't wrap my head around killers like Bryan Kohberger and what makes them different from everyone else. Where do they get that innate desire to kill? Investigators believe Kohberger had a target in mind, possibly the pretty Maddie Mogan, who was popular, bubbly, the opposite of who he was. Someone Kohberger would never have had a chance at dating. I mean, girls like that shunned him during high school in Pennsylvania. They found him totally weird. And according to his lawyer, who had him examined, Bryan was socially awkward due to a mild form of autism, which is also known as Asperger's. But his issues ran much deeper than antisocial behavior. He was drawn to disturbing criminal acts against others. According to forensic psychologists, most serial killers derive great satisfaction from the act of killing. They have a powerful and innate desire to commit murder. So what is Kohberger's psychological profile? We know going back as far as high school, he was bullied. He was overweight. He was shunned. People thought he was weird. Many women thought he was weird from high school on. For example, he met a woman at a pool party and he was new to the area, so she told him about a hiking group and they exchanged numbers. She told Dateline NBC that his text was weird and overly formal. And it read, "Hey, I am pretty sure we spoke about hiking trips yesterday. I really enjoy that activity, so please let me know. Thanks." Thank God she blew him off. Can you imagine hiking with Bryan Kohberger? I find it interesting that at age 19, Kohberger got into heroin and broke into friends' houses to steal small items to support his habit. He even sold his sister's cell phone, which to me reveals acts of betrayal. He had no criminal record, but ended up going to rehab and admitting to some of those acts. Now, Dan J. has studied this aspect of Kohberger's life, and here's what he has to say.
I think that he's always struggled with who he was, and I think he's always had an unusual awareness of the lack of remorse, the lack of empathy, and the lack of feelings that he had. I think he tried to find himself in a lot of things. I think he was a movie buff. Even some of the pictures that he's taken, or the selfie with the headphones, kind of similar to American Psycho, and a lot of those type of things. So I think so yes, he was going through some things, right? And he was getting kicked out of school at WSU, or losing his job. But when he purchased the K-bar knife, it was at the height of his life. He had just got his master's degree. He was got the recommendation for the Ph.D. program. He had just gone from being a heroin addict, and he changed his life. And this was probably the highest moment in his life. So, I think that when people say, was it because somebody rejected him, or somebody did this to him, or whatever the case may have been, I think that could be possible.
Yeah, and as Kohberger was studying criminal justice at DeSales University and finishing his master's degree, he appeared to explore the mindset of serial killers. So it's possible he recognized certain traits that he had in common with them.
He was trying to find himself, and I think when he made this Reddit survey and he was reaching out to other people who commit violent crimes, I think he was finding some commonalities amongst himself. And I think that he had always complained about not having feeling.
Can you explain to everybody what the Reddit survey was?
Yeah,
again?
so he was doing a thesis, and his thesis on why violent criminals do the things that they do. So he created a Reddit survey asking for people who had committed violent crimes. He invited them to answer these questions, and the questions were, how did you choose your victims? What made you choose your victims? How did you make entry? Did you do anything while you were there? What were your emotions during the crime? A lot of those type of feelings and thought process of the crime. And the thing about it is, he didn't put that up until the end of March, when he graduated in May. It was he worked on that after he had graduated. And even Michelle Bulger, who was his professor, who recommended him to the PhD program, had stated that's what that survey was for that thesis, but he didn't even use any of it for his thesis.
Kohberger may have recognized his propensity for violence, but appears to have hidden it pretty well. His professor, Dr. Catherine Ramslin, taught him 4 classes in his criminology PhD program. Now, she's a nationally renowned expert on serial killers. She came out and said he was a promising student who really could have made a mark in his career. He was a hard worker, very polite, He participated in class, and she didn't see it coming at all.
Yeah, and the class he took with Dr. Catherine Ramsland was Violent Crimes. And the book that he had read was that was a mandatory to be read was the I think the autobiography on BTK. And so he had a lot of that influence in his life.
You know, it's interesting. Why was Kohberger fascinated with criminal justice? I mean, he was pursuing his Ph.D., so he's a pretty smart guy. Was it because he wanted to learn how to evade police? Did he know that deep inside he was going to be a serial killer and he had to figure out how to get away with it? Or was it something darker? Did he see himself in the profiles of those serial killers and mass murderers? Did he consider himself a mass murderer or a serial killer? Now, a mass murderer is defined as someone who kills multiple people at one time in one location, like a school shooter. However, a serial killer kills multiple people over time, usually with planning and cooling off periods. They often kill for psychological gratification. I'm wondering where Kohberger fits in. Well, here's former FBI profiler Jennifer Coffindaffer to answer the question.
To me, the best show I did specifically related to your question was with Dr. Gary Bricata, who is the most renowned profiler, if you will, and he studied every single mass murder in the world. So his knowledge of mass murder and those databases is amazing in understanding different people's, why. In addition, he, wrote a book with 2 FBI profilers. So anyway, I think what's important is that he believed that Bryan Kohberger was definitely a fledgling serial killer. So
That's a deeper question to explore. Bryan Kohberger has now admitted to killing Maddie, Kaylee, Xana, and Ethan. He'll spend the rest of his days in prison. Yet, we're left with more questions than answers. Was this a one-time act of violence, or the early stages of a calculated serial killer in the making? In the next video, we'll dive deeper into Kohberger's disturbing fascination with infamous serial killers like Ted Bundy and the BTK killer, and how their crimes may have influenced his own. So, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss it. Once again, I'm your host, Margaret McLean. Thank you for tuning in to It's a Crime.